Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close.
He did the Monster Mash.
The Monster Mash.
Hello and welcome to this very special episode of the Monday Movie Show. It's special for two reasons. One, it's not on a Monday, and two, it's a horror special. We're going to yabber on about nothing but horror films and TV programmes for the next 44 minutes, or until Spreaker decides to cut us off. I'm Stuart, I'm also joined by Andy.
Yes, it's going to be a really fun, horrific show, considering that the script is completely out the window, and this is going to... I don't think this is going to go well.
Yeah, the reason why it's completely out the window is because the two guests that I've got with us, Dalek Sex and Bouncy, ate it.
I was very hungry.
That wasn't me.
Yeah, it was you. You wanted candy, and the only thing I could actually give you was the script.
Oh, have you know I've been eating jelly monkeys that I was supposed to be given to local kids. I've eaten them all.
Oh, I haven't been doing the sweets thing. I've been cutting a hole in a pumpkin. And the results were pleasing, especially after it had been popped in the microwave for a few minutes.
Oh, jeez. Oh, dear.
Okay,
He's already onto the mutating monkeys thing. Monkeys. There we go. See? First screw up of the night.
Disturbing image there. So as you can probably tell, the structure is gone completely out of the window. So we just thought we'll freeform it with us having two people who are huge horror fans like myself. Andy is not one of the two. So,
yes, okay, I know, I'm a coward, I'm afraid of it, yeah, whatever.
So Bouncy and Dalek. And anyway, before we do anything, Bouncy and Dalek, why don't you just introduce yourselves?
Okay. That sounds fair enough to me. I'm Dalek Sex, the beloved internet celebrity and comedy sexual predator from the kit show We Are the Lolacost. You can follow me on at The Voice of Sex on Twitter, and the website is lolacost.co.uk. We're on Spreaker and iTunes. It's an enormous pleasure and an honour for me to finally be on the show. And can I just say, if you are listening to the show at home, hello, dragons. I'm looking for £10 million for the greatest night of your life. If Deborah and Peter want to go halvesies, I'm okay with that. He's a very, very tall man.
No, Bouncy, follow that.
I'll follow that. I'm Bouncy Ball. I once beat Peter Shilton in a penalty shootout contest, and Blue Peter presented Katie Hill once sat on my knee, and I made her face all dirty. So hello.
Okay, I've got to try and follow that. What we've got is we've got a few films to give away during the course of this probably meandering mess. And if you hear this,
We'll tear your soul apart.
again, during this show, all you have to do is tell me what film it's from, and as soon as you tell me the name of the film, you win something. I don't know what you'll win.
That's one of them. We have another clip as well, and we have something else that the guys from the Holocaust are going to be throwing out there at some point as well. So we have a few things to give away. Just to make everyone aware, I'm sorry, but it is only open to UK entrants, so you have to have a UK postal address, and you have to be over 18 years of age.
Yep.
Can I just say that was quite funny, because here in the green room where we guests are, we couldn't actually hear the sample. So you said, if you hear this during the show, and then it was just the sound of four middle-aged nerds breathing.
Well, it's not the breathing.
Well,
it's not the breathing.
You hope it was the sound of the four middle-aged nerds that was breathing that you heard, not someone else.
Oh, God. I can't turn round now.
Yeah, I think we should have a slight little structure here, and let's move on a little bit to get onto the crux of the things, and it's horror.
Really?
Help.
It's
yeah,
horror?
It's horror. That's the whole reason why we're here. We're not here because of our ineptitude and scaring people off. We're here to talk about all things horror. And because, Andy, you're the one who's who's the little child, who's the little girly girl who doesn't like horror that much. I thought, why don't we do something that you'll be able to talk about, and that's horror in television?
Yeah, I can easily do that. I mean, it's not that I'm afraid of films, but horror films just scare me. I do watch them. I do watch horror films. I don't like a lot of the really sort of freaky things, and the ones that don't count as horror, that are just torture porn and things like that, I can't stand, so I avoid them anyway. But I watch a lot of things like horror ones on television. Like, you've got some really good shows that are on at the moment, like Supernatural, which has been going for years, and I've been watching it since it started, which is like 8 years ago now. Any of you guys watch it?
Yeah,
it's on my to-do list.
Your to-do list. You're gonna have like 8 years worth of the show to watch when you finally catch up to it, and maybe even more because it's still ongoing.
I want to get through Dexter first.
Oh well, Dexter's a completely different animal.
And The Walking Dead.
Yes, which we'll be covering in a minute as well. I mean, we've got Supernatural is one of my favourite shows because it is a horror thing. It's like kind of like X-Files, but about these two brothers who basically travel through the United States and hunt and kill monsters. And it's a really great thing because the fact is that it's genuinely funny and loads of sort of pop culture references in it. So
Millennium scares me to death.
Millennium, I found that unfortunately boring. I didn't get into that at all. I didn't think it was scary.
I'm talking about the Robbie Williams song.
Oh well, anybody is scared of Robbie Williams.
It was about the time when he started letting himself go, where he went into the whole Blobby Williams phase, and he looked like something from the Blob.
But you can give him props. I mean, for Halloween things for the video from Rock DJ, the uncut version of the video, it's quite graphic.
Yeah,
it's really
hells yeah.
It's and it's a nice, good horror music video. Are there any other horror music videos?
Thriller?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, Thriller, obviously.
As a matter of fact, when Yamaoka named his three biggest influences for creating Silent Hill, one of them was obviously Jacob's Ladder. One of them was Firewalk with Me, the movie.
Did that have a music video?
Can the nice man finish his sentence?
Sorry.
And the third one was a Björk music video, the one where she's being built out of bits on a production line. I can't remember what the name of the song is, but you can look that up. And if you go and watch the video, you will see it's got that kind of vibe to it. Right, Anne.
Okay.
Daddy's finished talking.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, but I mean, Supernatural is really great. It's funny, if you haven't been watching it, it is shown on Sky Living. So of all the channels, I don't get why it's on that one. But I think ITV had it for a while, but was showing it like it's like they would like Fox or something, and just put it on whenever they felt like it. I mean, there's other ones that are coming out which haven't made their way here yet, which is a good-looking show called 666 Park Avenue, which has that guy out of Lost that many people know of, the guy who played John Locke.
I thought you were going to say John Locke, yeah.
Yeah, Terry O'Quinn is his name. And he's essentially... Have you ever seen a film called The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves?
Yes, fine film.
Yeah. Imagine that, but if you have... Instead of it being about Keanu Reeves' character, if you had Charlize Theron's character as the main character of the thing, and you had Terry O'Quinn as the devil.
I find it the measure of a good film where it's so good that Keanu Reeves can't spoil it. See the first Matrix film.
I thought it was quite good in the first Matrix film because of the fact that he's totally out of his element, no idea, and his dumbfounded look on his face for the whole 2 hours.
Yeah, but that's kind of like cheating for Keanu. That's all he does. That's his one acting skill. Whoa.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the Arnold Schwarzenegger being cast in Total Recall, perfectly cast because he just looks confused for the whole 2 hours. Tough crowd.
Well, I don't think we can do a conversation about horror in TV without mentioning Sapphire and Steel.
Sapphire and Steel. Oh God, no! That's just. I'm not going to sleep till I'm going to have nightmares. Don't.
I still can't watch the episode where the woman gets burned alive without because it's just so understated.
Just to interject a second, I have played a clip and somebody's got it right. Wayne said Hellraiser for the clip that I've just played. So yeah, you have won something on DVD. I think we'll give him a choice. You can either win Pitch Black or there is a copy of Dead Space Downfall on DVD. So your choice, one of those two.
To see what he does. I'm just thinking of, other horror ones that are out. Obviously you've mentioned already The Walking Dead, which is phenomenal in the fact of what they've been able to do with a television show, because it is. I can't think of a more graphic, gory TV show that there has ever been.
It's not
That's
that
a conversation
graphic.
for another time. We could probably devote a whole show to that.
It's only just become really graphic. I think
Oz, the prison drama, I think was more graphic.
I haven't actually seen that.
And on a totally different level. I think the thing with The Walking Dead is it's obviously the first kind of zombie-based TV series, but it's not really even about the zombies. The whole comics, they were never about the zombies. It's about the people, and that works really well. The series is great, but I think there have been. I don't know. I think you can get too wrapped up in the fact of how graphic it is, and look, they're doing this, they're showing this gore. I don't think that matters. It's part of the context of the storytelling, and therefore it shouldn't really kind of be pickpocketed out as a redeeming factor. I'd go more for the fact that it's got a great ensemble cast, and you genuinely don't know who's going to survive from one episode to the next, which is a huge strong point that Lost kind of managed to do in its early seasons as well.
It's the thing is, I have seen some of the new episodes from the new series, which I'm not sure. I think FX started it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's very. I do like the whole thing because I haven't read the comics, but I know that it's quite closely following the comics for the whole storyline of the prison and such.
It's quite close. Yeah, it is quite close.
So it's interesting to see where it goes. From things that I've heard and I know that are supposedly coming up, if they do follow that, it's going to be some pretty hard character moments and sort of horrific moments coming up.
I haven't seen. Sorry, go on.
There's one moment in particular. I was talking to a fellow Walking Dead comic book fan the other day, and there's a single panel coming up. In terms of episode-wise, it should be around the end of the series, and we were debating whether they're going to use it or not. There are a lot of moments in the comic book where you think they'll never do that, and then they just do it, and they do it really well. And so we're sort of on 10 hooks as to what it is. I'm not saying go out and try and find out what it is in advance. If you want to do that, read the whole range of comics. But there is one specific panel that after reading it, I put my book down. I just went and I had to watch children's TV for a little while just to bring myself out of the fact that I'd never been that affected by a panel in a comic book in my entire life. But it was brilliant.
I have never seen or watched any of The Walking Dead, and the reason for that is I want to be able to play the games without any preconception of what the series or the story are meant to be.
Well, the games, from what I've played of it anyway, and with me watching the TV series, the games have nothing to do with the TV series. The game itself, if you're talking about the one which is on Xbox Live Arcade or PlayStation Network or Steam, they have nothing to do. None of the characters in the game are in the TV series, and I think
they are.
That's
you got Glenn. Glenn's in it in the beginning, and you go to Herschel's farm as well.
True, but I
it's
think
it's a crossover, but it's not. It doesn't follow the story and the main cast of the series, but it is still linked to the comics and the series in a way.
I wouldn't have minded if it had been an option to have. Remember in Dalek won't know because he hasn't seen it, but the first series where he ran into this guy and his son.
Yeah,
I thought it would have been good maybe to have like them as characters, the main characters in it or something. I wondered if they'd maybe try something like that.
They cover them later in the series.
Oh.
In the books, they come. Their story is kind of resolved. So,
okay,
yeah,
I'm glad about that then.
It's hard to say much about Walking Dead because the comics, they kind of obviously. I'm now I think in 101. And
yeah, they just had a big special thing about the 100th episode.
The 100th one. They did whack off one of the main characters, and it was quite moving because you knew it was coming. Of course, it's 100th issue; they're going to do somebody, and so it's good. Like I said, I could only recommend going out and getting them if you want to. There's rumours that there's going to be the compendium and the game released on physical copy in December, but it's only America at the moment. But I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out over here. So it gives you the first 48.
Issues.
Yeah,
48 is it?
You know, I think it's either 40 or 48. Yeah, it's definitely within the first 50. So yeah, grab that. If not, just grab the book anyway because it's a significant saving if you just want it for on the shelf and don't want to spend a fortune.
Another show which I'm just going to mention quickly because it has only been around a very short time. It lasted 8 episodes. It was an American show which didn't do well, so of course it didn't last. But it made its way over here to the Sci-Fi Channel, The River. Anyone seen that?
I like that.
Nope.
It's
I
quite
watched
an
the first
interesting
2 episodes.
It's quite an interesting idea. I mean, it's essentially one of these lost footage things, but for a series. With a group that goes into somewhere deep in the Amazon looking for this guy who's gone out with a film crew and disappeared. And the mysterious weird things going on. You have like a ghost story, a thing going on in it, and the whole thing of the jungle being alive and these really sort of creepy things going on and people coming back from the dead and stuff, and some nice ideas and references to sort of kind of folklore in that. And some nice ideas in it, but just for some reason it didn't take.
I think
shame.
the biggest issue is it's one of those things that, particularly with found footage films, they do very well as a standalone thing, but as a long-term thing, that footage can only last for a finite amount of time anyway. So it was always going to be something that's going to be relatively small. But the fact, I mean, it had Spielberg as a producer. I always surprised me that wasn't enough. But I mean, I loved it on 2 grounds. One, because it was very effective what it tried to do, and 2, because it had one of those stupid moments that I like in horror, where they find this great creepy place has got all these dolls and things, and they think, this is the perfect place to set up camp. And then they sleep underneath this giant kind of voodoo tree thing, and you just think, you wouldn't do that. You're not that stupid. You think, but this is a horror series, so it's exactly what they should do. So it did it. It followed all the tropes of a good kind of horror movie of that type, but tried to make it work as a TV series. And that's a tricky thing to get right anyway. But I think those 8 episodes, they're as good as they could have been, without doubt.
Talking about found footage, sorry, I'll just say as well, going back to Supernatural, this series of Supernatural that are on Living is Series 7. Series 8, which hasn't started here yet, apparently just had a found footage episode recently. And fans have actually come out and said that it is. Some of them have really not liked it and said it's the worst episode ever made. So, is found footage dead?
Marble Hornets actually manages to do found footage as a show, but there's 2 reasons why it can do that. First of all, it's not all found footage. The first season is all found footage. Then the second series, they start to intersperse it with real-time stuff. Second series, the main character has amnesia. And so he's exploring his environment and trying to figure out what has happened to him in the year between season 1 and season 2, and is doing this by finding the footage and playing it. So they sort of like go in cycles of sometimes it's happening now, horror soap opera, and sometimes it's found footage. The other reason it can get away with it is it's only 5 minutes an episode.
Yeah, I mean, with that as well, 5 minutes, you're not going to get bored of it that easily. 40 minutes for a television episode or an hour with adverts is really going to stretch someone's patience, especially, I mean, in The River, there are moments where you are just going, get on with it, hurry up, it's boring, it's taking too long, and that's the problem of having a found footage thing, of that you just, a lot of times, it's like watching CCTV.
Yeah,
Can I just say before we end up moving on from television, the most graphic TV show ever is Spartacus Blood on the Sand.
Maybe, yeah. Actually, yeah. I mean,
guy gets crucified with his cock cut off, and you see everything. You even see the little stump of the cock flapping around with arterial spray.
Yeah, we'll be
glorious CGI.
Yeah. We'll be killing Dalek Sect at the end of this thing for saying the C or C word. Yep, that's a bit too higher than PG kind of area that we deal with. So, bad person. Bad person. Before we quickly move on to films, Bouncy, I know you want to mention a program from 20 years ago.
Yes, yeah, it's not as old as it. Well, it is as old as it sounds because it is old. 20 years ago, exactly, roughly about this time, I was sat at home being absolutely terrified by a ghost called Pipes. The program was on the BBC, presented by Michael Parkinson. It's called Ghost Watch, which was recently referenced actually in the season finale of Doctor Who Series 2, when the Cybermen ghosts were walking around. They brought back Ghostwatch as a brand, which was quite a nice little touch. But yeah, essentially it went out. It was a piece of fiction. It was an hour and a half long. It was created as part of a drama series they were doing. But the problem was it was Halloween, and a lot of people were watching, because at this time you only had a few channels. It was the early days. We actually had a remote control that had numbers for every single channel. And people watching a film on ITV. And an ad break came on just after Ghostwatch had started. So people did flick across to the other channel, and there's Michael Parkinson and Sarah Green, who at the time was very popular, Mike Smith, her husband, and Craig Charles, rather, who obviously off of Red Dwarf, was doing outside broadcast.
Gabby Roslin involved in it as well, or something like that?
No. Okay. And so they did this outside broadcast at a house in London where essentially there'd been ghostly activities. It was all set up as kind of a real TV show, and it was all fictional from the very beginning. But people didn't get that. Within an hour, they'd had 30,000 complaints and phone calls. The BBC self-imposed a 10-year ban. One disabled man committed suicide after watching it, and 3 children were listed as having post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of watching a programme, which is pretty effective. The BBC came under heavy criticism for putting out a programme at that time of night that was kind of misleading. But now we're used to that. I mean, you look at films like Paranormal Activity, that's an entertainment form, and it was an entertainment form then, but we were a bit more trusting of it because it wasn't an established way of kind of presenting a story. But yeah, absolutely terrifying. Camera tricks and hidden bits and pieces. It's been re-released on DVD. I picked my copy up for £2 in Morrison's, so it's not going to be very expensive. Do look out for it. It's well worth a watch. And if you do like it, go on the internet and search for 31/10 and the word Ghostwatch. You can read the sequel that the original writer wrote. So that's quite interesting as well, when they go back to the studio 10 years later.
Can I just say, I have written the words, some people have a lower threshold of what they consider a swear than you do, on a post-it note, and I've stuck it to my monitor in front of my face. Obviously, I had to stick 5 post-it notes together and write it horizontally across them. So it looks a bit like my monitor's wearing a skirt now.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you tried to write down a list of all the words you can't say, you wouldn't be able to see your screen at all because you used to be covered in 20 post-it notes.
Okay.
Moving on, though, and as we do, we're going to give our listeners, live listeners, a second chance of the evening to win a DVD or Blu-ray in this case. All you need to do is listen to this very short clip and tell us what film is it from.
That's simple.
There you go. It should be easy.
So on that case, with that being movie related, let's move on to horror and films. And we have about 21 minutes left, and I doubt we'll probably just go off on a major tangent here. So horror and films is a broad category, considering that you can count it from the 1900s all the way up to now. But more interested in maybe the last 20, 30 years of horror and films, specifically the fact that there is no originality in horror movies, and is there any film out there that scares you? If you're a horror fan, like for instance you, Bouncy, and you, Dalek, is there any film that scared you in the last 5 years?
I was scared by the Poughkeepsie tapes. Anyone? Poughkeepsie tapes?
I've never heard of that.
It's a found footage serial killer movie. Probably the best found footage movie of the current wave, apart from the Blair Witch Project, the original.
I think I just mentioned in the Blair Witch Project, bring up things. I saw that at the cinema and I didn't mind it. I wasn't bothered with it. But then it's one of those films that you watch it and then later on you go to bed, you turn off all the lights, and then all of a sudden your mind just starts thinking. So does it work like that, or is it more of a in-your-face kind of, that's at the moment scare? Or
it's a bit more cerebral than the Blair Witch Project. It's a bit less visceral. It's like got interviews with police pathologists and stuff like that. So they're really, really dissecting, for want of a better word, what you are seeing on the screen. But it's presented as a documentary on this fictional killer, and the hook is that when they found his nutty room, they found all of the tapes that he'd taken of his victims, and it intersperses mockumentary interviews with footage that the killer himself has taken. Scared the willies out of me. Well worth tracking down.
What about you, Bounty?
Well, I think sometimes I'm scared by films that aren't necessarily kind of made out to scare, but it touches me in a way that is personal to me. So, like, anything involving children when I had my kids was a little bit more effective. But I think in the last few years, the one that kind of stands out is Pascal Laugier's Martyrs, the French film from about 5 years ago. That was just astonishingly visceral, and it just was unrelenting. And it was the first film at work that we ever had to put a sticker on to warn people of the content, and then had to also mention to people that they may not like what's on the disc, which I thought was a kind of a good step, that at least we stocked it. But it almost felt like, it was like, you know, when you were a kid and you used to see the 18 rated videos at the top shelf, and you were like, you knew you couldn't have them, so you wanted them even more. And then you'd like see them in your dad's video collection, you'd borrow it and watch it. You'd be like, oh, I've seen Evil Dead. Oh, this is amazing. It kind of suddenly everybody wanted to see it. Same happened with Serbian film, although I didn't enjoy that as a film, and it definitely didn't frighten me, but it was effective at what it tried to do. But Martyrs was just great.
Yeah, it's sort of like what the French was obsessed with a few years ago. With I think it kicked off with the movie Switchblade Romance, directed by Alexandre Aja, and they were obsessed with doing extreme, gory, nasty horror. Like, you look at Martyrs, like you said, and Inside and Switchblade Romance, they are quite extreme films, specifically Inside.
Frontier as well was very good. And I think Haute Tension as well deserves a mention. Those as a set, just like you said, there was a period of time where they just cranked out great films, and normally you expect that from Asia. You don't expect it from France, because French.
I like the Silent Hill movie, but apparently I'm in the minority.
Yeah, I didn't mind Silent Hill.
You got the next one coming up this week, haven't you?
I'm reviewing it on Monday, and I'm going to see it tomorrow night, actually. So, yeah, I know. I'm not really that looking forward to it, considering the kind of reviews it's been getting, but we'll see. But yeah, the French has been they were obsessed with extreme horror anywhere, and over the last couple of years they've sort of toned it down. They've concentrated more on dramas now, with things like Tomboy and The Kid with the Bike, which are fantastic little drama films. But for me, there's a French film called Il, or Them, which is 90 minutes of a film where it's just a couple which get hounded by kids in this huge, massive house. But it works because it is very tense. And I'll probably say that for me was the last time I was scared when watching a film, because it is the perfect movie where silent room, curtains closed, pitch black, just watch something like that. And if somebody did touch you on the shoulder, you will end off on your ceiling.
Has anyone seen there's been an interesting news story that came out today, which is like something out of a horror movie? Aside from it being the problems with the weather and the flooding and all, it is related to New York. Anyone else seen it, about a guy and him wanting to kill and cook and eat 100 women? No?
Are you sure this isn't a dream you had?
No, I'm actually looking at it. I've just been looking to make sure I had the details right, and it wasn't a dream. But it's really a real guy who was a New York policeman who's been arrested after an investigation by New York police and the FBI, where him and some other guy had been making arrangements over email to actually go out, kill, stalk. They actually had a woman that they were stalking, and they were interested in actually stalking her, killing her, cooking her, and eating her, and she was to be the first of 100 women.
Nice.
That sounds like a good cookbook for next year's Christmas present list. How to cook, how to cook women, how to cook for women, how to cook 40 women, how to cook for 40 women. No, but yeah, that would be great. Can I
cook 40 women for 40 women?
Well, so it's just that he put in. I mean, they've got the line of one of his emails, because they're saying we don't need to say anything more about it. He'll say it for himself, and it's like it has on it. I love that she is asleep right now and not have the slightest clue what we had planned. Her days are numbered. She does look tasty, doesn't she?
Nice.
Nice.
Good.
I just thought
Can we
I'd bring
play
it up because I remembered it from this morning, and I was just like, that's just freaky.
Can we play my Halloween game while we've still got 5 minutes?
Yeah,
Yep.
let's get going with that.
Okay, right. It is established fact that I know more than other people. However, this is a Monday movie show, so I thought I'd challenge you on your Halloween movie-related trivia. You ready for this?
God, I'm going to do so badly here.
Okay, start off with the Halloween movie, Halloween. You picturing Michael Myers, yeah? The white mask? Yeah. Where did they get that mask from?
I know William Shatner.
Yep, it is a Captain Kirk mask that they painted white.
Yep.
What record did Anthony Hopkins break by winning the Oscar for Silence of the Lambs?
It's probably wrong, but wasn't he the first horror actor to be nominated for best I was going to say best director there, best male performance or whatever they call it, best actor?
No, it was the shortest performance ever to win an Oscar. Lecter is on screen only for 16 minutes during the movie. Okay, here's a nice easy one for you. What was the blood in the Psycho shower scene?
It's not going to be the simple thing of the corn syrup and cherry or something, is it?
Nope, it's simpler than that.
Chocolate sauce.
Chocolate sauce, yes.
Oh.
Well done. What was the working title of Alien?
I should know this. I really should.
So should I.
I'm beating myself over the head with this.
Bouncy nose. He's got his hand up, sitting there going, I know.
Help you guys. It's your quiz.
Now, you can chime in if you want. If anybody knows it on the chat as well, you can instantly win a film on DVD or Blu-ray if you know the answer.
Oh, have we got any Blu-rays left? I think we're down to DVDs now.
Nobody
I
knows.
know this. I mentioned it also when helping out on Following the Nerd. I sent a message to you to see it as well, and it was...
It's 2 words. No.
This is killing me.
No, it's bugging me. I don't know it, but I should. This is just...
Okay.
I've been really embarrassed now.
Enough to there. Star Beast. Right. Moving on. Who played the possessed girl in Exorcist 2?
I've never even seen Exorcist 1, let alone Exorcist 2.
I thought Exorcist was a bit of an average film. It's been a while since I've seen The Exorcist 2.
Nobody know?
Right. Anyone in the live chat know?
No. I doubt it.
No.
Bouncy, you know?
Wasn't it Linda Blair again?
Ah, that's what you'd think, but Linda Blair actually refused to do the possession scenes for the second film. So every time she goes all, that's actually a body double.
Well, yeah, but she still played the girl who got possessed, don't she?
But
Yeah,
I said the
fantastic.
possessed girl.
But it's still the same girl. She was still possessed, even though she wasn't acting possessed. I call shenanigans on you, sir.
Okay. Do you know what is going on at the party at the start of Cloverfield that is slightly unsettling?
Is this a quiz question or is it just an observation?
No, this is a quiz question.
The unsettling.
Yes, before all the horror starts.
Aside from the fact that Hal's really annoying and no one at the party has punched him out yet.
That too. Actually, the answer is that the actors are standing in a completely silent room. All of the party music was added in post-production. So everyone there is actually pretending to dance to something they can't hear. Which is a little bit odd if you think about it. Okay. Do you know why Texas Chainsaw Massacre used real human bones as props?
Because the only thing that looked real being cut by a chainsaw?
No, it's because they were cheaper. They actually couldn't afford plastic replicas.
Are you kidding me?
No, they used a real medical skeleton because somebody donated it to them rather than buy a plastic one.
Okay, that's quite sort of worrying.
Here's one that you might know. Why has Charlton Heston sworn never to work with Steven Spielberg?
I really wish I got Elk of some of these questions beforehand because silence on a show like this is not very good.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll knock it on the head after this. The simple answer is that he wanted to play Brody in Jaws. Spielberg turned him down, and since then, Charlton Hairpiece has had an eternal grudge against Spielberg.
Oh, the little baby.
I wouldn't have cast him as Brody. I would have cast him as oh god, I can't think of his name now. Robert Shaw's character. Yeah, Hooper.
Clint.
No, Clint. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have one more question now which you can read out so people can send the answers to us on Twitter at Monday Movie Show or at Cryptic Tadpole EHDVD, the people who listen back to the show so they can win something?
Yeah, what they'll do this, and whoever is the first person to tweet this to us, either at Monday Movie Show or at AHDVD for me or at Cryptic Tadpole for Stuart, will win not one but 2 DVDs 28 days later and 28 weeks later.
Okay. Well, I will pick a question which you could educatedly guess, rather than one that's either completely geeky and you know it or you don't.
Well, it'll be the first person to tweet it. So, fingers at the ready for the keyboards.
Okay. The Oscar for Best Makeup was created in 1981. Now, bearing in mind that the year was 1981 and this is a Halloween-themed quiz, what was the movie that won it?
Interesting. I'm not going to say. I think I might have had an idea of that one, but I'm not going to say it. The one question that I might have had a clue of, and typical.
Yeah, just to push things back to movies. What do you think the state of the horror genre is at this moment? Just to go on a serious question, because we've only got like 8 minutes left, and I thought I'd throw a serious question out there. What state do you think horror movies are at?
You can't go throwing a serious question out to the guys.
I have to.
That's just going to make their heads explode. It's be like scanners.
Shut it.
I have to. What state do you think the horror genre's at?
Interesting. I think the potential for throwing original low-budget films out there has actually caused the horror movie to get stuck in a worse rut than it was before, ironically. Because before Paranormal Activity, all you got were pretty much nothing movies. And now after Paranormal Activity, you just get 10 Paranormal Activity clones a year. But I think overall, the effect has been positive. Because, you know, for every Paranormal Activity sequel, you get something like, what was the one I quite enjoyed? The fake Exorcist one, The Last Exorcism.
Which there's a sequel coming out next year for that.
Oh, shit.
It's going to follow exactly... Shining. It's going to follow the same character as in the first one.
Oh, that's not a swear word.
But 6 months later.
As much as I don't watch a lot of horror films, I know of a lot of horror films. I think the only ones I can think of, and one of them's not really even horror, but the only films I can think of that have shaken up the horror genre in the last 10, 15 years, there's been 2. One is Scream, which completely turned it on its head, and the other one, which did so even more recently, was Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods, yeah.
They're the only ones that have done anything to actually try and be original in what is an unoriginal genre now.
I don't know. I thought Apollo 18 was pretty original. They go to the moon and it's made of spiders. Originality's not the problem with the film. The problem is that it's a gigantic pile of bottom.
Yeah, it's majorly pish.
I haven't seen it. I didn't want to see it, but again, it's
rubbish. Found
footage, isn't it? It's not. It's just not doing anything new. It's not taking the conventional idea and twisting it around, is it? It's just doing something, but with the found footage thing, which is becoming really tedious.
Bonesy?
I think there are a lot of. I think Scream and Cabin in the Woods are the easiest ones to cite because they're the most kind of popular. But I think if you look at things like Wreck and you look at things like Ring, I mean, they're huge. It kind of changed the way you think. So Asian cinema, the impact of Asian cinema on the rest of the world was immediately felt. So I think, it's easy to pick two shiny Hollywoody examples, and they did come from people that know how to make a movie that can poke fun at the industry. But it's harder to make. I mean, neither Scream to a point was scary, but neither Scream nor Cabin in the Woods were really all-out horror. They were kind of love letters to horror, but also a cautionary note on what was happening at the time. Whereas you can look at a lot of other films and see genuine kind of great steps taken towards making good films again. Just while on that subject, I was thinking guilty pleasure horror movies are also really kind of commonplace, because the one thing about horror is quality of the film doesn't really matter that much. A good horror film can actually be a terrible film, but it can creep you out. And I bought from Poundland One-Eyed Monster, which I don't know if either of you have seen.
Yeah, the Ron Jeremy film.
Yeah, Ron Jeremy film, which obviously, as we can't swear, I will translate. It's basically about Ron Jeremy, while making a blue movie, gets kind of possessed-y type thing, and then his tallywhacker starts attacking people and killing them on the set of an adult movie. And it's just a brilliant concept for a kind of parody movie thing, and works in a really stupid way. It's got Charles Napier, who's kind of great in everything he does, particularly the Russ Meyer films. But yeah, I just everything I watched on it, it was terrible, but I enjoyed it from start to finish. And I think that's the great thing about it, is you can make awful films in the horror genre and get away with it. But you wouldn't be able to do that in, say, we'll do a depiction of the Holocaust. If you get that wrong, it will be universally panned and it will never do anything. But you can make a rubbish film, call it horror, and you'll sell thousands because people don't really care that the standards have been lowered.
Yeah, one thing I think has been interesting this year is the fact we've had not one but 3 kids horror films in the cinema.
There were a lot in the 80s. If you think in the 80s, we had things like
Monster Squad.
Yeah, Monster Squad.
But Monster Squad wasn't that a 15? It wasn't a kids film.
Yeah,
I watched it. I watched it as a kid.
I watched it too.
Gremlins. I mean, you think these sort of films, they were like borderline horror, but they were aimed at that kind of younger market. Nowadays, the 12-rated horror is a weird beast. You've got things like The Woman in Black. You've got Drag Me to Hell, which I loved. I thought it was a perfect Ghost Train movie. But that kind of 12 rating means they can't do some things, so they have to be very inventive of what they can do. But in the 80s, they were terrifying films. We watched The Lost Boys when I was 9 at school. The teacher brought it in. We watched that. We were terrified. It was far too much for us to sit through. But again, it was just Critters was great. The whole series of Critters. Yeah. You also had like Ghoulies and Trolls and Demons, and I mean, you had kind of Argento films was starting to get watched by 10-year-old kids, because it was that time when the video nasty and people were watching stuff. The scariest film I saw when I was a kid was Ghostbusters. It was the only film when I was young.
That scared the hell out of me when I was a kid.
When the demon
librarian at the start.
The hellhound things where they break out the statue. I remember very clearly. I just turned around to my mum and went, "I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed." And didn't watch the end of Ghostbusters for about 3 years. It genuinely freaked me out. But I'd watched Nightmare on Elm Street without an issue. I'd watched like the full version of RoboCop without an issue. But a bit of statue moving, my imagination filled in the gaps and made that so much more frightening.
The bit that freaked me out.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut you off there. Honestly, truth. We've only got a minute and a half left. Quickly out 45 minutes actually disappears. So all I was going to say is the fact that horror can get away with a lot of things because you can do horror on such a small budget. Like you look at the film Colin, how much that was made for. It was an insane amount, like £50, and it took hundreds of thousands at the box office. But you can do horror movies on a small budget, and so that's how horror can get into people or whatever. But yeah, that's it. That's all we've got time for on this horror special of the Monday Movie Show. Dalek and Bouncy, you do a show called Holocaust and Yellow Calls, which is on in about 15-20 minutes live on Spreaker, so people go and tune into that, and thank you for joining us on this.
Watch Mum and Dad.
Yeah, watch Mum and Dad. Yeah, and we will be back on Monday, same time, 7:30, with the Ordinary Standard Show. So until then, I'm playing you out with this clip thing here. If you can tell me what it's from on Twitter, I'll pick out a winner and I'll send you a DVD on Monday. So until on Monday, bye.
Bye-bye.